What does it matter if she's the real or fake heiress? As long as there's money, I am the true heiress. The day I arrived home, the fake heiress suffered a heart attack. My father immediately handed me a share transfer agreement. Jia Jia is too weak. You'll manage the company from now on. I signed without hesitation. My mother instantly transferred 100 million. This is your compensation. Don't come home until you've spent it all. I obediently nodded. My brother tossed me the keys to a villa. This one's furthest from the main house. Move there. I happily accepted. One day, the fake heiress, hand in hand with her 50-year-old fiancé, stood before me, crying, her makeup smeared. What would you do if you suddenly discovered that your long-lost parents were billionaires? As for me, I'd just received an unexpected downpour of wealth from the heavens. The moment I opened my eyes, I saw a group of people surrounding my bed. All of them wore black suits and sunglasses. Were they preparing for a robbery? I immediately shot up, threw the pillow to the floor, and knelt on it. I really don't have any money, I wailed. Please, just find another house. Good morning, miss, Mr. Dong, one of them bowed, his voice booming like thunder. The noise startled me so much I tumbled back onto the floor. Just then, a pair of warm hands helped me up. Yue, my daughter, I've finally found you. I looked up and saw a meticulously well-groomed lady, her eyes red with affectionate tears, gazing at me. Beside her stood a stern-faced middle-aged man. Through her choked sobs, I pieced together an earth-shattering truth. 20 years ago, due to my father's carelessness, their child had been accidentally swapped. And the job application I'd sent to the Lamb Group, it only caught the HR department's attention because my photo bore an uncanny resemblance to their chairman Lamb. After an investigation, they confirmed I was their long-lost biological daughter. Chairman Lamb? No, now I should call him Father Lamb, sternly looked around, appraising my rented room. When he saw the damp, moldy walls, he couldn't hold back, removing his gold-rimmed glasses to wipe away tears. Yue, you've suffered so much. Have you really been living in this squalor all these years? I felt a little embarrassed. That tiny 30-square-meter apartment was something I had decorated bit by bit myself. What was so terrible about a shared bathroom? It wasn't until the car pulled into the mansion gates that I truly understood what he meant. Even the statue in the middle of the fountain was taller than my entire living space. When the enormous gates swung open, the dazzling light almost blinded me. Is this really my home? I pinched my thigh hard. The intense pain made me burst out laughing. It wasn't a hallucination caused by bad food, it was real. Ha ha ha, I'm about to be rich. Mr. and Mrs. Lamb stood beside me, watching my every expression with concern. Yue, do you like it? Yes, I love it so much. I nodded incessantly, my mouth stretched into a wide grin, showing all 8 white teeth. Mommy, Daddy? My clear voice echoed through the grand hall. Oh, my sweet girl, my good daughter. They both responded eagerly, their eyes shimmering. As the family gathered happily, hurried footsteps suddenly echoed from the staircase. A girl, dressed magnificently, rushed down, her curly hair bouncing with every step. Mommy, Daddy, you're back. Her voice was sweet, but a flicker of hostility crossed her eyes when she glanced at me. She tilted her head, asking, Is this the new maid you hired? I looked down at my own attire. A faded white cotton t-shirt with frayed sleeves, my hair casually tied low. Though we were the same age, standing side by side, we were worlds apart. She was like a beautiful doll in a display case. I was nothing more than a plainly dressed maid. This must be Jia Jia Lamb, the fake heiress. I smiled, extended my hand, and tried to appear friendly. Hello, oh no, I'm Yue Lamb. Nice to meet you, please take care of me. Jia Jia Lamb's expression immediately stiffened. Yue Lamb, she seemed to grit through her teeth. Mrs. Lamb sighed. She told Jia Jia the entire truth. After hearing it, Jia Jia Lamb burst into uncontrollable sobs. Her voice was lost in shock. So, I'm not your biological daughter? Now your real daughter is back. Then I'll leave, I'll go right now. Tears welled in her eyes, looking exactly like a discarded puppy, truly pitiful. Mrs. Lamb quickly embraced her, her face etched with sorrow. Jia Jia, what are you saying? If you leave, how will I live? Mommy, oh. The mother and daughter hugged, crying hysterically. Mr. Lamb stood by awkwardly, unsure what to do, occasionally glancing at me with worry. I completely failed to understand what was happening. What was this? The 3-story Lamb family mansion must have at least a dozen bedrooms. Surely there was enough space for one more person? Feeling puzzled, I spoke up. Oh, I don't mind, she can stay here. Mr. Lamb immediately nodded in agreement. Exactly. I'll tell everyone outside that both of you are my daughters. Jia Jia Lamb's crying suddenly stopped. She lifted her head, her makeup smeared. What do you mean, Daddy? Are you pitying me? I don't need your pity. Her voice was shrill. Are you reminding me that this position originally belonged to her and I'm just an usurper? Then I'd rather die, just let me die. She suddenly became extremely agitated, struggling for breath, clutching her chest, and collapsing into Mrs. Lamb's arms. Dr. Lee, quickly, Jia Jia's having another heart attack. Mrs. Lamb's desperate cry echoed through the grand hall. The reunion scene, which should have been warm, turned chaotic in an instant. Dr. Lee rushed over with his first aid kit. Move aside, everyone, move aside. After some emergency first aid, Dr. Lee spoke sternly. Miss Lamb absolutely cannot endure any more shocks. As he spoke, his gaze subtly flickered towards me, as if I were the cause of everything. Indeed, being the true heiress in a wealthy family was not easy. I had read countless novels about real and fake heiresses. According to those tropes, the Lamb family would surely declare me a distant relative, confine me to the smallest guest room, and deliberately ignore me at parties. In the end, I would be ostracized by the whole family, driven to despair and suicide. The only difference was that I wouldn't be reborn like the protagonists in those stories. Death would truly be the end. Or should I take the initiative? Seizing this moment while the Lambs still felt guilty, perhaps I could demand a bit more compensation. I took a deep breath about to speak when a loud bang rang out. Someone had slammed the door open. A tall young man, almost 1.9 meters, stormed in like a whirlwind. Who dares to bully Jia Jia? He bellowed, making the crystal chandelier tremble. How strange. Jia Jia Lamb, who had been unconscious, suddenly woke up upon hearing his voice. She opened her eyes, and the tears still clinging to her lashes fell. Brother, you're back? It turned out this was her brother, the young master of the Lamb group, Edward Lamb. He knelt beside Jia Jia Lamb, his face filled with worry. Jia Jia, don't be afraid, I'm here. No one will harm you. As he spoke, the veins on his neck stood out clearly. Jia Jia bit her lip, tears streaming down again. Brother, today I just found out I'm not your biological sister. That person is. Look, your family is finally reunited, and I'm just an extra. She suddenly began to cough violently, her already pale face flushing with a sickly red patch. Brother, please tell Dr. Lee not to save me anymore. I'm worthless anyway, just let me die. She cried, pushing Edward Lamb's hand away, continuing her dramatic demand to die. Edward Lamb's heart twisted. Don't talk nonsense, you're my only sister. I won't accept anyone else. He spun around, glaring at me. But when his gaze met my face, he froze. He looked at his father, then back at me, mumbling unconsciously. So similar, too similar. Indeed, Father Lamb and I bore an uncanny resemblance. We both had monolid eyes, a flat nose bridge, and even the large birthmark on our left cheek was identical. Anyone looking at us would immediately believe we were blood relatives. Jia Jia, seeing her brother distracted, called out weakly, Brother, cough, cough, cough. After 3 coughs, she successfully recaptured his attention. Edward Lamb sat up straight, his voice resolute. Even if she is my biological sister, I won't accept it. To me, Jia Jia is the sister who grew up with this family. After saying this, he subtly glanced at me. Seeing that I remained silently bowed, his voice immediately softened. As for you, well, as long as you know your place, I'll allow you to stay here. Brother, Jia Jia shrieked angrily, her eyes wide. This time, she genuinely fainted. The living room instantly plunged into even greater chaos. I woke up in a large bed. A servant said that Jia Jia Lamb had been in hysterics all night, and they had to call an ambulance at 3 a.m. The situation didn't seem optimistic. It wasn't until late afternoon that the 3 Lamb family members returned, looking utterly exhausted. Yue, Mrs. Lamb's voice was hoarse, as if she had been crying a lot. The doctor said Jia Jia cannot endure any more emotional shocks. So, my heart suddenly tightened. Here it comes. The familiar scene was about to unfold. Was the biological daughter to be kicked out for the adopted one? I quickly interrupted, my voice calmer than I expected. Mother, do you mean I should leave? The expressions of all 3 stiffened simultaneously. I caught a fleeting glimpse of confusion on Mrs. Lamb's face. Mr. Lamb awkwardly turned away. Edward Lamb just stared down at the tips of his shoes. Finally, Mrs. Lamb spoke first. She grabbed my wrist, her diamond ring pressing painfully into my skin. Yue, your father and I know we've wronged you, but Jia Jia is still the child we raised for 20 years. Edward Lamb cautiously interjected. Exactly. Don't think that just because you're the biological daughter, you can replace Jia Jia. I didn't care about his words. I just turned to look at Mr. Lamb, who had remained silent until now. Daddy, what do you think? Many layered emotions flickered in his eyes: hesitation, reluctance. but they were quickly replaced by the decisive resolve of a businessman. Yue, we've agreed, you should move out for a while. Agreed? I almost burst out laughing. Who had agreed with whom? I was the protagonist of this story, yet why was I completely unaware? Indeed, in the world of the wealthy, the biological daughter is always the first to be sacrificed. I never thought my ticket to experiencing life as an elite daughter would expire so quickly. Daddy, I looked up, determined to secure a final bit of compensation for myself. Then asking for some compensation isn't too much, is it? Mr. Lamb seemed to have prepared everything. He nodded, replying, "What do you want?" "I want to work at your company," I said decisively. Due to the birthmark on my face, my recent job applications had received no replies. And the Lamb Group was where I most longed to work. It would be foolish not to use such leverage. Who knew Mr. Lamb had anticipated everything? He pulled a stack of documents from his briefcase. "Sign here." I opened it and almost became dizzy from the numbers inside. It was a transfer of 20% of the Lamb Group's shares. Edward has never been keen on the family business, and Jia Jia is too delicate. You bear this burden. Seeing me stand dumbfounded, he frowned. Not satisfied, I quickly bent down and signed my name, afraid that a single second's delay would make him change his mind. The moment I finished signing, my phone chimed. I unlocked it to see my banking app clearly displaying a balance of 100,250 yuan. 123. After counting the digits in my account, I looked up and met Mrs. Lamb's apologetic gaze. "Jia Jia gets sick every time she sees you. Consider this your compensation from me. Don't come back until you've spent it all." I obediently nodded. I immediately turned and left without a hint of hesitation or regret. Just as I was about to step out the main door, Edward Lamb suddenly ran after me. He shoved a set of keys into my hand, stammering, "This villa is the furthest from the main house. You can stay there for now." Why wasn't this unfolding like in the stories? Were they giving me a bit too much? I walked out of one mansion and into another. Here, the bed was also big and comfortable. The Lamb family showered Jia Jia with love, but for me, they spared no expense with money. This was perfectly fine with me. I lay on the bed, looking at my account balance, and couldn't help but burst out laughing. Ping, a message from Jia Jia Lamb appeared. Yue Lamb, so what if you're the biological daughter? Didn't you still get kicked out of the house? I'm telling you, as long as I'm here, even for one day, don't even dream of stealing them. They're all mine, mine, mine. Oh my goodness, who would bother fighting over a man with her? I'd rather focus on making money. When I was 6, a car accident took the lives of my adoptive parents. From then on, I had to live in an orphanage. There, the children were divided into two types, likable and unlikable. I belonged to the latter, simply because of the birthmark on my face, so no one wanted to adopt me. Delicious candies and new clothes never came my way. Children my age often bullied me. While sleeping, I'd be drenched with water. While eating, there would be maggots in my food. The most serious incident was when some older kids locked me in a pitch-black bathroom. I cried all night long, but no one even noticed I was gone. From that day forward, I realized one thing: if no one was going to love me, I had to become truly useful. While others played, I studied. While others had fun, I studied. While others slept, I still studied. I poured all my energy into my studies. Eventually, I was the first child from the orphanage to be admitted to a prestigious university. The moment I stepped out of the orphanage gates, I didn't look back, because I would seize every opportunity to advance, including claiming the identity of the Lamb family's young heiress. While I was studying for my MBA, my phone kept vibrating. I opened it to see messages from that annoying Jia Jia Lamb again. "Sister, Mom specifically asked a designer to make this dress just for me. She says I'll always be her only princess. We even have the same birthday. What did Mom get you?" Staring at the screen, I subtly curled my lips into a cold smile. Right, same birthday, but why did I get nothing? How unfair. Without another word, I immediately created a group chat. The name, Beloved Family Biological Version. All 3 profile pictures instantly showed question marks. Edward Lamb, Mrs. Lamb, your daughter Yue, Mr. Lamb, what's wrong? I directly sent a screenshot of Jia Jia's bragging message to the group, accompanied by a doleful emoji. No one at the orphanage ever remembered my birthday. It's okay, I don't blame Mom and Dad at all. Less than 5 minutes later, my phone rang off the hook. Transferred 2 million, transferred 3 million, transferred 5 million. From then on, I discovered a completely new way to make money. Every time Jia Jia flaunted something, I just forwarded it to the group. Sometimes, to encourage her to indulge her self-importance with me, I deliberately added fuel to her silly fire. Isn't stealing 20 years of my life enough? Why do you still want to provoke me? Jia Jia lamb, you imposter, you're spending my family's money. Give me back my parents and brother, I will reclaim what belongs to me. Jia Jia became even more smug. Her shopping spree became increasingly frenzied. The more she bought, the more my account balance grew. Eventually, the Lamb family couldn't tolerate it anymore. They immediately set a limit on her credit card. And so, Jia Jia Lamb went quiet for a while. Jia Jia Lamb's birthday arrived. The Lamb mansion was splendidly decorated with lights. A long line of expensive supercars stretched outside the gates. As soon as I entered the grand hall, I saw Jia Jia Lamb surrounded by people, shining like a star in the crowd. Beside her, a girl in a light blue dress pointed at me and loudly exclaimed, "Oh my goodness, Jia Jia, why is your maid walking in through the main entrance?" Jia Jia Lamb covered her mouth, giggling. "Don't say that. This is my newly recognized older sister. It's her first time at a party like this today. Oh dear, definitely a country bumpkin, with such dark skin and wearing pink no less." The dress I was wearing was actually given to me by Mrs. Lamb. She said that today I would officially be introduced as an adopted daughter of the Lamb family, and Jia Jia Lamb would be my sworn sister. I ignored the taunts and headed straight for the buffet area. Halfway there, I suddenly felt someone step hard on the hem of my dress. Rip! The sound of tearing fabric rang out. My dress was ripped open with a large tear at the back. Taunting whistles echoed everywhere. Before I could even collect myself, someone gave me a hard shove. I stumbled and fell towards a champagne glass pyramid. Crash! Hundreds of glasses shattered. Champagne poured down, drenching me from head to toe. Jia Jia Lamb slowly withdrew her foot, feigning horror. "Oh my, sister, how clumsy you are." She covered her mouth, feigning panic, but her eyes gleamed with delight. Her sycophantic friends around her quickly pulled out their phones, snapping photos. "Look, her back is full of horrible scars. Oh my, that muscular back is almost manly. She's such a crude woman. She must have intentionally fallen to flaunt her body and entice some rich old men." That Jia Jia Lamb even pretended to be kind, attempting to help me up. But as soon as she touched me, she deliberately stumbled backward herself. "Sister, I was just trying to help you. Why did you push me?" she said, tears streaming down her face. Hearing this, the crowd around us began to murmur. "How heartless! Even if you're poor, you should know your place. She's just an adopted daughter. How dare she turn against the true young heiress? Heartless? Then I'll show them what truly heartless means." I sneered, immediately kicked off my high heels, and lunged straight for Jia Jia Lamb. Slap, slap, 2 loud slaps rang out. Jia Jia Lamb froze, taking a few seconds to register what happened before clutching her face and screaming. Yue Lamb, you dare to hit me?" Her sycophantic friends rushed forward. I quickly jumped onto the buffet table, grabbed a cake, and threw it straight at their faces. Splish, splosh, cake coming your way. Fresh cream painted beautiful arcs in midair before splatting all over their faces. "Aha!" Shrill screams echoed through the grand hall. Not stopping there, I grabbed an unopened bottle of champagne, shook it violently, and ripped off the cap. F-whoosh! A torrent of champagne sprayed towards them. "Don't you love champagne? Today I'll let you drink your fill." They panicked and scattered. Some tripped over the buffet counter, others crashed into the dessert table, knocking everything over. In an instant, the entire hall transformed into a chaotic battlefield. As for Jia Jia Lamb, during the commotion, someone stepped on her dress, and with an asterisk thump, she tumbled into a champagne bucket. "Help, help!" But everyone was busy saving themselves. No one paid any attention to her. Jia Jia Lamb only managed a few more cries before scrambling out. As soon as I got up, I pounced on her, pinning her to the floor. Rip. The designer dress on Jia Jia Lamb was torn in half by me. Yue Lamb, are you crazy?" Jia Jia Lamb shrieked, frantically trying to escape. I curled my lips into a savage smile. "Don't you just love tearing other people's dresses? Let's have some fun together. Mommy, Daddy, brother, save me." Jia Jia Lamb cried until her voice was hoarse. When the Lamb family members rushed over, the scene before them was me sitting on top of Jia Jia, about to shred her dress completely. Around us lay scattered cake, shattered glasses, and over 10 rich kids with cream-smeared hair, trembling and huddled to one side. Yue Lamb, what kind of crazy stunt are you pulling?" Edward Lamb's angry roar pierced the air. He lunged forward, intending to pull me off. Instantly, I transformed into the suffering heroine. I grabbed my head, tore at my hair, screaming and rolling on the floor. "Ah, I don't want to live anymore." The biological daughter is being suppressed by the fake heiress, and the whole family pretends not to see. Everyone just wants to drive me to my death to clear the way for Jia Jia, so I'll die to make everyone happy. While everyone was still stunned, I used all my strength to headbutt Edward Lamb's chest. Thud, both of us fell. He clutched his forehead, yelling, while I lay prone on the floor, my limbs twitching, foam appearing at my mouth. Oh, I'm dead. The space became eerily silent, everyone frozen in shock. Jia Jia Lamb cried pitifully. She lied. I'm not fake, Mommy, Daddy, explain it. But everyone's eyes on her had completely changed. I was carried to the living room. After the party ended, I slowly opened my eyes. Beside the bed, a change of clothes and my handbag were already laid out. From downstairs, Jia Jia Lamb's intermittent sobs wafted up. Wow, the video is all over the internet now. They're saying I'm a usurper, a fake heiress bullying the real one. I can't face anyone anymore. Wow, I'd rather die. This trick again? I couldn't help but roll my eyes. Haven't you used this like 800 times already? Don't you get tired? Fine, I'll teach her a little lesson. I pulled out the secret weapon I had prepared from my bag, tucking it into my chest, ensuring it would shock everyone later. As soon as I reached the stairs, I heard Mr. Lamb roar directly at me. You wicked girl, Neil. Today you've completely shamed the Lamb family. Jia Jia Lamb was nestled in Mrs. Lamb's arms. She cried, adding fuel to the fire. Sister, I know you hate me for taking Mom and Dad, but I didn't know anything. I was just a baby then. If you're angry, just take it out on me. Why did you have to cause such a scene at the birthday party? Because of you, Daddy lost face in front of his partners, and Mommy won't dare to see anyone anymore. As soon as she finished speaking, the other three glared at me furiously, their eyes burning. I curled my lips into a sneer, slowly descending each step. All right, if you want to bear all the blame, then you should just go die. Jia Jia Lamb froze, then burst into even more desperate sobs. If my death can soothe your anger, I'll gladly do it. With that, she frantically grabbed a fruit knife from the table, intending to slash her own wrist. Jia Jia, Edward Lamb rushed to stop her in a panic. He turned, his gaze at me clearly filled with disgust. Yue Lamb, do you want to force Jia Jia to her death? Damn it. Jia Jia Lamb was truly a despicable actress, performing to such an extreme. I quickly stepped forward, snatching the knife from her hand. Fine, let me help you. I raised the knife. In Jia Jia Lamb's horrified eyes, I didn't hesitate. I thrust it straight into my chest. Thud! Fresh blood flowed out. Jia Jia Lamb, it's your turn now. I threw the bloodied knife down at her feet. Jia Jia Lamb recoiled in fear. No, I don't want to die, I don't want to die. Mrs. Lamb was the first to rush to my side. She trembled, trying to press on the wound to stop the bleeding, but I immediately grabbed her wrist. Mother, don't waste your efforts. Gasping, I looked up, my eyes tear-filled at the three people in front of me. Mommy, Daddy, Big Brother. With each utterance, more blood seeped out, their eyes filled with worry. Knowing that you are my family, I was so happy I couldn't sleep for 3 nights. Mr. Lamb's eyes reddened. He turned away, his shoulders trembling continuously. Edward Lamb stood to one side, slapping his own face. Wah, it's all my fault I'm dying. Mrs. Lamb held me tightly, crying and sobbing. Yue, my good daughter, don't talk anymore, I'm calling for an ambulance right now. Don't call, I suddenly spoke loudly. There are a few words, if I don't say them now, it will be too late. The three rushed closer. Their 6 eyes were filled with regret and distress. What do you want to say? We'll agree to anything. I coughed weakly a few times. I know this house has no place for me, so just give me some money and let me go. Give her everything. Mrs. Lamb frantically pulled out her phone. I'll transfer 50 million to you right now, then can you go to the hospital? Not enough. I tilted my head to look at Mr. Lamb. Daddy. His face immediately darkened. I then turned my gaze to Edward Lamb. Brother. He clenched his teeth tightly. Ping, ping, ping. The transfer notification sounded 3 times. At that very moment, I sprang up nimbly. All right, business done, I'll take my leave now. Goodbye, everyone. All 3 were stunned. Jia Jia Lamb was the first to speak. You faked your death. I immediately pulled out the bag of fake blood I had hidden in my chest and threw it straight at Jia Jia's head. The dark red liquid streamed down her curly hair, staining the carpet with a large red streak. Ah, what is this? Why does it stink so bad? Jia Jia shrieked hysterically. I smiled brightly. That's black dog blood. It's especially effective against green tea types. Humming a tune, I skipped out the door, leaving behind the panicked cries of Mrs. Lamb, Mr. Lamb's angry shouts, and Jia Jia's heart-wrenching wails. The saga of the real and fake heiresses finally concluded with an official announcement from the Lamb family. The announcement clearly stated that I, Yue Lamb, was the biological daughter of the Lamb family. As for Jia Jia Lamb, who had been pampered for so many years, she was merely the adopted child from 20 years ago. I had officially reclaimed the identity that rightfully belonged to me. In the following days, I dedicated all my energy to working at the Lamb Group. Every day, promptly at 7 a.m., I was at the company and often worked late into the night before returning. I no longer went back to the Lamb family's mansion. 3 years passed, enough time for an ambitious person to build a solid position in the business world. Now, anyone who met me respectfully called me Junior President Lamb. I had used my own abilities to prove my worth. As for Jia Jia Lamb, she still lingered in the glamorous world of pampered daughters. The latest designer handbags, limited edition jewelry, and even photos with Mr. and Mrs. Lamb accompanied by the familiar caption, "Thank you, Mom and Dad, for your love." She tried her best to show everyone that she was still the most cherished young lady of the Lamb family. But I didn't care about that. As long as Jia Jia Lamb didn't provoke me, I didn't mind having another pet bird to keep. Unfortunately, Jia Jia Lamb couldn't stay quiet for long. The Lamb family arranged a marriage for me. The chosen one was Daniel Shen. He was the only son of the Shen family and also Jia Jia Lamb's childhood sweetheart. He was handsome on the outside, but in essence, a philanderer who turned on the AC for all women. Mr. Lamb once confided in me privately, Yue, the Shen family is eyeing you. If you marry into their family, not only will the Lamb Group be yours, but the entire Shen family's empire will also be yours. He paused meaningfully. That Daniel Shen is quite simple-minded, easy to control. I reviewed Daniel Shen's profile, a slight smirk playing on my lips. Indeed, to get something, one must give something equivalent. Marriage in high society has always been a transaction, and if one must sell oneself, then one should, of course, choose the most profitable deal. I just didn't expect Jia Jia Lamb to interfere and disrupt things. At my first official meeting with Daniel Shen, I arrived 10 minutes early and chose a seat by the window. However, when he appeared, he was arm in arm with Jia Jia Lamb. My hand froze midair, my coffee cup trembling slightly. "Sister," Daniel was insistent on bringing me along. "Don't be mad," Jia Jia whined, clinging tightly to him. She even deliberately showed off their intertwined fingers. "He's mine, you can't have him." I calmly placed my coffee cup down. My gaze lingered on their entwined arms before I suddenly burst out laughing. "Why don't you just chain him with gold chains then? It'd be troublesome if he broke loose and bit someone." Daniel Shen's face instantly changed color. He loosened his tie, revealing faint red marks on his neck. Yue Lamb, don't think you can do whatever you want just because my father is backing you. I'm telling you, I'd rather die than marry you." "Oh," I propped my chin, looking at him curiously. "How do you plan to die? Jump from a height, or slit your wrists? Do you need me to help call an ambulance?" He gritted his teeth, clenching his hands into fists. "I'm here today to make one thing clear. Jia Jia is the only one I love. I will only marry Jia Jia. If I ever paid attention to a crude woman like you, then I, Daniel Shen, am worse than a dog. You'd best go back and tell my father that you're not worthy of me." With that, he dragged the smug Jia Jia Lamb away. Before leaving, he didn't forget to glance back and flash me a middle finger. How utterly insane. I gently smiled and opened my phone. The video I had just recorded was quickly sent to Chairman Shen. By now, I held 20% of the Lamb Group's shares and was the company's CEO. What did Jia Jia Lamb have? Besides her heart condition, she only had princess syndrome. Less than 5 minutes later, my phone vibrated. Chairman Shen's resolute voice came through. Yue, our Shen family only recognizes you as our daughter-in-law." Daniel Shen ran away from home. He swore on his life that he would never marry me, no matter what. He declared he would cut ties with the Shen family unless they accepted his marriage to Jia Jia Lamb. Jia Jia Lamb was so touched she almost fainted. At home, she cried torrentially, went on hunger strikes, and caused all sorts of chaos. Truly a pair of star-crossed lovers. But this time was different. The Lamb family, who had always pampered Jia Jia Lamb, unexpectedly became incredibly stern. They confined her to her room, confiscated her phone, fearing she would cause more trouble. When I visited Jia Jia Lamb, she had visibly lost weight, her complexion pale, but her eyes blazed with defiance. She stared at me, a provocative smile curving her lips. Yue Lamb, true love can overcome all obstacles. You can't break us apart." I burst out laughing. "If you two are so determined, I'll help you unite." That night, I quietly let her go. Jia Jia Lamb immediately ran to find Daniel Shen. Initially, they were madly in love. Jia Jia Lam posted dozens of updates every day, flaunting photos of Shen cooking instant noodles for her, and selfies crammed into subways, accompanied by the familiar caption, "Happiness is eating simple food with the one you love." It was like a sappy idol drama. But not long after, real life showed them the difficulties. Shen had always been used to spending money lavishly, and Jia Jia Lam had been pampered since childhood, so much so that she had never even poured herself a glass of water. Very quickly, the two began to argue over money. Shen blamed Jia Jia Lam for being too capricious and fragile, while Jia Jia Lam cursed Shen for being useless. To make matters worse, Jia Jia Lam was extremely possessive. She checked his phone, scrutinized his schedule, and even followed him when he met friends. If Shen replied to a message a little late, she immediately suspected he was with another woman. And so, she would wail and threaten to die again. Finally, Shen couldn't take it anymore. As I sat in a bar, I saw Shen drinking alone. He looked up, saw me, froze for a moment, then smiled sadly. Yue Lam, are you here to mock me?" I calmly sat down next to him, ordered a whiskey, and said indifferently, "I'm not that free." He stared at his drink, then suddenly poured out all his grievances. Jia Jia has gone crazy, truly crazy. She threatens suicide at the slightest provocation, crying and making a scene, suffocating me. I can't even breathe. If I had known she was like this, I would have married you instead. Just then, his phone rang. It was Jia Jia Lam. He annoyedly hung up, but the phone kept ringing persistently. "What now?" he roared into the phone. "I said I just want to be alone. There's really no one else. Can you stop suspecting me? If you're so free, go find something to do." From the other end of the line came a shrill scream. Even without speakerphone, I clearly heard her yelling. At the same time, the bar door burst open. Jia Jia appeared at the entrance, drenched, her eyes red with hatred, glaring at us. "Shen, you dare to betray me again?" The entire bar suddenly fell silent. A few people secretly raised their phones to record. Yue Lam, you vixen, you dare to steal my man?" Jia Jia Lam lunged forward, grabbing a glass of wine, intending to throw it straight at my face. Shen quickly grabbed her wrist. Clang! The wine glass slipped from her hand, falling to the ground and shattering into many pieces. "Haven't you made enough of a scene yet?" Veins stood out on his forehead. "Our meeting was just a coincidence." Jia Jia suddenly gave a strange laugh. "A coincidence? Do you think I'm a child? It's all because of that woman, isn't it? You want to marry her, you want to return to being the young master of the Shen family? Shen, you're despicable. Without the Shen family's backing, you're nothing." Slap. Shen exploded in rage, a hard slap landing on Jia Jia's cheek. Jia Jia completely broke down. She clutched her face, wailing in panic. Shen, I gave you everything. How dare you treat me like this? You'll regret it." "Break up, I want to break up with you." She staggered out of the bar. Shen didn't bother to chase after her. He just slumped onto the chair as if all his energy had been drained. He picked up the bottle of wine and tilted his head back, drinking it all in one gulp. I sat beside him, a slight smirk on my lips. Jia Jia Lam, in the end, still didn't understand men. She thought she could use tears, threats, or morality to bind him. But she was wrong. Men are like sand in your hand. The tighter you hold, the more it slips away. I took Shen home. He slumped onto the sofa, staring blankly at the ceiling, his eyes lifeless. He sat there like a madman. Suddenly, he asked me in a hoarse voice, Yue Lam, am I really that useless?" I poured him a glass of warm water, my voice calm. Pretty useless." He flinched, then his eyes reddened. He tilted his head back and gulped the water, resulting in him choking and coughing until his face was red. He quickly wiped his face, his voice choked. "Even you say that. It seems I really am a good-for-nothing." I didn't reply, just sat opposite him, calmly reviewing some documents. Seeing me ignore him, his emotions worsened. Like a stubborn child, he grabbed a cushion and threw it to the floor. "I hate everything. I hate my father, I hate that damn company. I never wanted to inherit it, why does everyone force me?" He glared at me angrily. "Especially you. Every time I see your cold face, it's like looking at my father. You're all the same, only caring about benefits, no one cares what I want." I closed the documents, looking up at him. "Now, no one is pressuring you anymore." He froze. "What do you mean?" I smiled faintly. "Your parents are planning to have another baby." "Huh," he sobered up, half his drunkenness gone. "They want another child, then what about the marriage? Are you planning to marry my younger brother?" I interrupted him. Shen, why don't you want to marry me?" He fell silent, then annoyedly scratched his head. "You always act so stern. If I marry you, I'll surely be stuck in the company working day and night, even needing permission to go out and play." I chuckled. "Who said that?" If you marry me, I'll handle the company affairs. You can just enjoy yourself and play as much as you want. I'll make money to support the family, you just have to spend it. He looked at me with skepticism. Really? Of course, I said definitively. If you want to have fun, no matter how many other women, it's not a problem. As long as you don't commit murder, I won't interfere. His eyes lit up like a lamp, but then he immediately hesitated, asking, sounds like all advantages, what about the disadvantages? I curled my lips. You said it yourself, if you married me, you'd be no better than a dog. He froze, his face flushing red, his fingers clenching then relaxing, finally gritting his teeth, uttering a single sound from between them. Woof. Daniel, Shen, and I got married. The ceremony was grand, with prominent figures from the business world in attendance. The media vied to report on this fitting marriage. I wore a magnificent wedding gown, walking gracefully alongside Daniel, Shen, a radiant smile on my face. Throughout the ceremony, he cooperated perfectly. Even during the ring exchange, he leaned in and whispered, "President Lam, happy collaboration." I, however, was engrossed in work. Immediately after the wedding, I threw myself into my job, not even taking a honeymoon. Daniel, Shen, meanwhile, freely indulged himself, gathering friends to celebrate his newfound freedom at bars. I heard that on the very day of our wedding, Jia Jia Lam caused a scene at home with a suicide attempt. She drank nearly half a bottle of sleeping pills and had to be rushed to the hospital in the middle of the night for stomach pumping. When she woke up, Daniel, Shen, and I were already husband and wife. Jia Jia Lam tremblingly called him repeatedly, but he had long since blocked her number. Daniel, Shen was truly fed up with her, but Jia Jia Lam still wouldn't let go. I eventually found him at a bar. He was dancing with a fiery model, his arm around her waist. Jia Jia Lam stood in the shadows, clenching her hands, but ultimately lacked the courage to step forward. She just secretly took photos and sent them to me, along with the message, "Aren't you going to control him, sister?" I glanced at the screen, gave a faint smile, and continued my meeting. It was truly laughable. Someone like me, who had lived in obsessive poverty since childhood, now that I had money, what use did I have for fleeting family affections or distant love? All I needed was money, power, things I could truly hold in my hands, because once firmly grasped, they would never betray me. 2 years after the wedding, I gave birth to a baby boy. The child's arrival did not affect my career at all. On the contrary, it further solidified my position. Under my management, the stock prices of both the Lam and Shen families doubled. The value of both conglomerates reached record highs. My own value skyrocketed. At this point, even Mr. Lam's gaze held a degree of respect for me. That day, I returned to the Lam family mansion, sat in the main seat in the living room, and leisurely sipped a cup of tea. Mr. and Mrs. Lam sat on either side, each with a different expression. I set down my teacup, my voice calm. Jia Jia Lam has enjoyed wealth and luxury for so many years. It's time she made some contribution to the family. Mrs. Lam hesitated a little, but the other party is quite old now. Mr. Lam said nothing, just silently puffed on his cigarette, clearly agreeing. I smiled faintly. Then let Jia Jia Lam choose for herself. I offered her 2 paths. One was to definitively cut ties with the Lam family and return to her original identity. The second was to obediently enter into an arranged marriage and live the rest of her life as a wealthy lady. Jia Jia Lam bit her lip, her red eyes glaring at me. Yue Lam, who do you think you are? By what right do you decide my life? She cried hysterically, even going on a hunger strike in protest. But this time, no one in the Lam family stood by her side. Finally, Jia Jia Lam understood that pampering was something that could run dry. By the 3rd day of her hunger strike, she weakly leaned against the wall and came out, choosing the second path. On her wedding day, she walked arm in arm with a 50-year-old man, her heavy makeup unable to hide her swollen eyes. She gritted her teeth, her voice full of resentment, asking me, Why has everyone changed so much in just a few short years? I burst out laughing. Relying on others, they leave. Relying on mountains, they crumble. Relying on oneself is the best strategy. I continued, As for you, accustomed to a life of luxury and being sheltered, how could you ever be independent? Later, I heard that Jia Jia Lam ran around desperately seeking doctors and remedies to have a child. She wanted to use a baby to contend for inheritance. Unfortunately, her wish never came true. She often cried and sought comfort at home. Initially, Mrs. Lam would console her, but eventually she grew tired of it and decided to travel the world with her money. As for me, I had long achieved financial freedom. I lived a life of ultimate liberty, getting whatever I desired. For instance, sometimes I would call 10 male models to drink, play cards, and party on a yacht. It was just that recently, for some reason, Shen had suddenly changed his ways. He cut off all contact with other women, even coming home on time every day, saying he wanted to live happily with me. I didn't pay him any mind. I still went out and enjoyed life as usual. Life is short. Why chase after things like family affection or love? The day I filed for divorce, he rushed straight to my yacht. Seeing me surrounded by a group of male models, his eyes turned bloodshot. He pleaded, choked with emotion, can we not get divorced? I gently swirled my wine glass, a faint smile on my face. No, we can't. Why? Because you're too dirty.